Hey everyone, welcome back to the shop. Today let's get back to work on the Fokker D.VII. Hey, for you die-hard watchers, yeah, we missed another weekend. I got tied up doing a lot of personal stuff, so unfortunately this had to kind of get kicked off to the curb for a weekend. I was also waiting for more items to show up because it kind of put me at a, I don't want to call it a stall position, but it pretty much I had to slow things down waiting for things to come in. The things finally came in. I've got all my servos. I ended up getting from a good friend of mine, if you saw the comments in the last video that I put out, he had some Sullivan golden rods. Unfortunately, it wasn't a whole package of golden rods. Now, I do have Dubro, they're laser rods. I've got the white precision rods from Sullivan, but it is from the last video because this is going to be painted yellow from here on back. I mean, so the golden rods will work better. And it's because golden rods are yellow, and the inner tube is yellow, so that'll work really nicely up against the side of the fuselage. So what I ended up doing, and that just came in, about 10 minutes ago. I got those in from, I believe it was A-Main Hobbies. Yes, it was A-Main Hobbies. And they are here, so now I'm going to be good to go. So I've got more than enough little flexible control rods for probably a couple more planes, because as I said before, we're doing 2 servos for the elevator, 1 for each side, and yes, those are hinged. I'll walk you through that as soon as we get done, because once again I did that off camera. Each side's going to have its own servo going to it, so I didn't have to get super heavy duty servos. These still are more than what I need, and for torque, 145 ounces or ounce inches. Either way, it's more than you need just for one side, but on the bigger planes, if I can, I'd rather have 2 servos, 1 for each elevator. That way, like I said earlier, if one of the servos fails, you still have one working. I had that happen on one of my P-47s where I had one of the servos kick out, and you had to use a little more elevator, but there was no issue in landing it. So let me go ahead. I'm going to grab the Canon. We're going to go back there, walk around. I'll show you exactly what I've gotten done. And one of the other problems I had before I could even get that hinged, because I was using Robarts, and what I was using on the Robarts, I was using whatever you want to call those kind, and I love the Robarts. This one used a 3/16 drill bit. That's for the elevators. And on the rudder, because the rudder is thinner, where it's not 3/8 material, it's 1/4 inch thick material, I used little teeny 1/8 inch ones. So what I did was, when I grabbed the little, it's a little teeny jig that gets drilled through. You use this side of it, sorry about this, you use this side of it if it's going to be the 1/8 inch, and then you use this side of it. I'll get it. Eventually I'll get it. There we go. And then you use this side if it's going to be more like 3/8, and you're going to drill a bigger hole. The problem I had was on the bigger hole, I had this one with the small one in it. I couldn't find the larger one. It comes with 2 of them. So what I had to do is I had to order another one of these from Robart. And luckily Robart's about an hour south of here, so if I order it, it's normally here in about 2 days. So what I got with the Robart was I got the small one because it's the way they come. They come with the small one and the big one. So now I've got 2 of these, and guaranteed when this plane's done, I'll move something on the bench and I'll find the big one. It's what happens. As we all can see, it's 3 per side. You can see how I pretty much marked out where I wanted to put it. I had to get 1/4 inch by 3/8. Little blocks that you can see, I cut down, glued them into position, just to give you a little more surface to bite into with the hinges. So these hinges are done, and as you can see, the gap on this side is equal to the gap on this side, which is equal to the gap on the rudder. And this you didn't see prior, but this had to be put in place, this little filler, because the guy who, when he glued this all together, this wasn't glued at the right angle. So I said, instead of cutting this section out, I just made a wedge, sanded it down to fit. So I've got pretty much about that, about a 1/16 of an inch gap on clearance on all my surfaces. This piece back here, I forgot to glue a piece in, so I'm gonna go ahead and just get a piece of 1/4 by 1/4, drill a hole through the center of it, just to kind of get it lined up and put it through. These will all get epoxied into position with 5-minute epoxy. So it's going to be relatively easy, and I'll show you how I do it when that time comes. Now, with a certain amount of flexibility in this, because all you guys that have built this, it does have flying wires. It's going to pass straight through here and come up through here. So everything's loose, this will all get put together. What I will do is, when this time comes, because I've got some brass tubing, you can use aluminum tubing or brass tubing. I like brass tubing better. I will be drilling a hole through here and pressing in brass tubes. And that's where I'm going to get everything connected through. And I'll do it also, because you'll see the whole thing when it comes time to do it. It's going to be a 440 bolt going through with a lock nut on the bottom. And then coming off the top of this will be probably, I'm going to think 60 thousandths. Brass, flat brass. I'll cut it and bend it up at whatever angle it needs to match up over here. And then down on the bottom, it's just going to be a crossbar, slightly bent up with a hole drilled in each end, one screw in the middle of it, because this piece here can pivot back and forth a little bit. What you're really doing is you're just strengthening, you're taking the flex out, so you're boxing this whole thing out with cable. So mine will be cable, more so probably cable than wire, because I do have enough cable. As you can see, I've got, I don't know, probably about 250 feet more of this. One of the places I was working at, we were setting up a new store, and the guys that came over to hang some fixtures, I asked them where they got their wire from. He ran out to his truck and gave me the rest of this spool, so it's going to be all braided stainless. So that'll go from here up to here. So I like that better than the metal rods, because the rods will sit there and they'll flex back and forth. But because that's braided, there's a lot less chance of it vibrating up and down. So that was step 1 of the tail. Step 2 is going to be, we're going to get everything set up so I can have the push-pull rods put all the way through. So that's going to be coming up, not on the next video. That'll be the next step.
The next day.
Get y'all back in here again, and today, which is the day after yesterday, today is the day where we get the servo mounts installed. How well you're going to be able to see this? I'm hoping you can see everything. I've already got everything marked off. There's a dot in the front, dot in the back, and everything is marked over to the other side as well. This is where the servo rail is going to sit. I decided, and it took me probably about 10 minutes to figure out where everything had to go before I decided on this height. This first little marker up front is where the crossbar is going to sit, and it's going to sit about like that. This is 1/8 inch by 3/8 of an inch basswood. This is 1/4 inch by 3/8, and the 1/4 by 3/8 is going to be the cross rails. So what I'm going to do is, let me get these pieces here glued into position, and it's going to be 5-minute epoxy. Once that's done, when the cross rails get glued into position, I'm going to have, there we go, a little triangle stock, and that's just going to, according to what they want you to do, I'm going to do it. So these are going to go ahead and they're going to stabilize everything. So that way you're going to have any less chance, let's just call it less chance of flexing of the whole mount, but I'm not concerned about that. So let me go ahead and get the cross rail set up, and I'll bring you guys back just to show you how everything's going to sit. The longitudinal beams have been glued into position. So these are all 5-minute epoxy. It's been sitting here for about 15 minutes, so we're good to go. I went ahead and transferred my marks from the bottom up to the cross beam, or not the cross beam, the longitudinal beam, and that's how the cross beams are going to be set up. These are not glued into position. I'm going to do the top, the front, the forward one first, and then when I get the spacing set up the way that I'm going to want it, just so that I can still get the servos in and out, I'll make marks and pop this piece out and then go ahead and get this glued into next. So let me go ahead and get that taken care of. And then Once that's ready to glue in, I'll bring it back and show you where we're at. Before I glue that rear crossbar into position, let me show you how tight the tolerance I wanted set up in this. I've got it set up so of course you drop in the side with the wire first, and then as it sits right now there is just a little bit of interference, and that's what I want. So if I push it down just a little teeny bit, it'll fall into position and minimize the fore and aft slide in that. And you can look at it, that's not much at all. That's maybe 10/1000ths of an inch, real tight tolerance. And you can still go ahead and just pull up on it and it pulls right out. So that way, in case you've got to do anything with the servos, it's pretty easy peasy getting them in and out. I've had to come in the past and sand these edges down just to make it so that way you can slide it through. Once you get the 4 screws with everything held in position, there's nothing to worry about. So these will be good. Let me go ahead and get this glued in position, do the tri-stock, and then we're going to call this plane ready for controls all the way to the back, and that will be in the next video. Once again, I hope that the video is going to come out better than what I was seeing through the camera. And so far that little Canon's been doing pretty good. The lighting out there, yes, is atrocious and I hate it, but I can't do anything else with it unless we were going to put all lighting up in there, and it can't be done. So it's just going to be way too much work. So normally that's just used for pretty much just spray paint, but when you're working on a big plane like this, sometimes I have to be out there. So that part of the project, just building that little, let's just call it the bracket assembly for the servos, it wasn't difficult. I looked at it, it wasn't difficult. When you look at the two pictures, the two little real grainy pictures they have on the inside of the manual, you don't know exactly what they were doing. So you had to figure it out and just use the background and looking at what angle everything was shot at through the camera. You kind of get a good idea of what they're looking for. I mean, mine, I made a slight adjustment to it because of how it's going to hook up with how the servo is going to hook up to the throttle on the motor. And I think on that one, because it's going to have to make a couple little curves, I'm going to use some, I think I've still got some, because I've got the stainless steel wire down there inside, you saw it already coiled up. I can run that inside of like it's not really an antenna wire, an old school antenna wire, but it's something really close. I've got some stuff around here. I'm going to see if I can make one of those things work. So that way I've got it where I can glue, even hot glued, epoxied, whatever, into position. So as the cable goes up and back, it's not going to sit there and just flex. So I don't have an issue with the throttle. It was all on how everything's going to get put to the back. Now, when I was looking at these, the goldenrods, what they were talking about using, they're saying 3 foot. If you hold up the Dubro laser rods, and these are 48-inch ones, so it's got an extra foot, that would probably work better. Now, what they said in the instructions is that the goldenrods they used were the 256 threaded rod, which is what this is. I opted to go with the 440. Do I need the 440? No, but what the 440, what that's going to provide me is if I have to, I can slip back to the Sullivans, the old 584s, the white and black ones that they don't make anymore. What this comes with, and I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it. Let me see if I can get this into some kind of view. Here, let me just do this. Let me do the guy thing and just pull it out of the package. What that comes with is about 3.5-inch 440 rod. So it's pretty much threaded rod, but it's not true threaded rod because it hasn't been threaded in the middle. This extension itself would make up for the lack of length on this one, or on the same size 36-inch, not the golden rod, just the precision rod. So I do have options, and I can almost guarantee you that this little piece right here is going to come into play. This will go up front. That will come up front here for the servo into the tube, because that way I can have the tube where I've got my cross. It's because they're using balsa, so it's probably 1 inch by 6 inch slat of balsa. I'm whatever size I need to make, I'll make. But that would be up here, glued to this piece, this little former on the inside. With the gap that's here, I can cover that gap with this. So that way we have a straight, solid rod going back, so that the goldenrod itself doesn't really ever have to pop out of that tube. So it's going to give me the extension of the goldenrod down there. So I think I can make work with whatever I want to. But because it's the elevators, even though this is bigger, I will probably, got stuff falling down, I will probably use this. Even though I'm not running both elevators with one. I'm actually running each side with one. So I could probably get away fine with the 256, but a decision hasn't been made. It's still sitting up here somewhere, thinking about it forever and a day. But I'll probably go with the goldenrod, just because I'd rather have something a little more heavy duty on the elevator than on the rudder, because I can go with the 256. I can go with the clear rod on the back, because I think the clear rod is, that's the 440 as well. So I think I can make do with that going just to the rudder. So it's either way, I'm going to make it work. So hopefully you guys didn't mind my little 2 weeks without a video. That was changes at work and changes in my personal life, which meaning taking a couple weeks off of being down here every single free day off. So I actually kind of went out and just did stuff with friends for a couple weeks. So if you liked the video, go ahead, give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. I'm 35 subscriptions from 1,000. I'm not going to make money on it, but I want to hit 1,000. So let's just go ahead. We're going to call this a video, and I'll see you guys next time. I'm back down in the shop.